Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob.
It sounds like to me that our conversation is almost right on spot right now. So
Yeah, it does.
Right. Popular with the ladies.
Right.
just to get used to
Fucking
it.
A.
Yeah, fucking A back at you. Yeah, totally.
Right.
This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. This time live from Cleveland. I'm actually in Mike's, and we're separated in separate rooms because we keep getting echoes if we try to sit in the same room. But
Right.
we are under the same roof, right?
We are. You know, I actually have extra rooms. It's one of the promises or something like that.
we promise you extra rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's on page 165.
Right.
All right, so a couple of quick things. One of the reasons I'm here, and I know I posted it on Instagram, but it is our anniversary weekend. So
Did you post it or post it?
What's that?
Did you post it or boast it?
I did post it. If it sounded like boasted, I probably boasted a little bit too, though.
Probably a little bit.
But yeah. So Mike's anniversary was yesterday on the 22nd, and my anniversary was on Monday, the 18th. So this has been a tradition of ours pretty much every year. Pandemic year, we didn't get together because, well, it was a
pandemic, right?
Right. It was a pandemic, but other than that, yeah, we always get together at a minimum for the weekend after, both of us hit our anniversaries and hang out and do some stuff. And last night we hit a meeting like we always do, got some coins. Also, I posted that on Instagram. But yeah, I got to see a couple of friends and hit a meeting like we always do, and got a chance to announce our time, which it's, I suppose, part of the egotist in both of us. But the other thing too is the point behind being able to announce time is showing other people that it can be done, and that can be done in a continuous fashion for a number of years. And by whatever grace there is out there, we've had the ability to do that for 12 years. So that's where you cut out on that one.
I said, so good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Pats on our backs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we did some running around today. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes, but I have our normal little update on our stats. First of all, on Instagram, we have a total of 474 people following us as of right now.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome everyone, and thanks everyone that's stuck around. Every once in a while, I still see that up and down type of thing. So somewhere along the way, we must piss off a couple of people that are like, why am I following these guys?
Right.
So, and that's fine. Come and go. If this is not for you, that's fine. Go find somebody else that appeals to you more. And I know we don't appeal to everybody, but I'll tell you in a minute who we do appeal to. So with the podcast so far, as far as the number of plays, we hit 300, which is awesome. That was our goal. And the top episode, once again, it's the same one as it was last week, has been episode number 4. That's where Mike and I talk about our first 30 days. And, I popped back into that. I actually popped back in and listened to that episode a week or so ago. And I mean, I can see the appeal because we do talk about, especially if people are newly sober or have gone through there was a lot of struggles and things that we went through in that time. So it's, I don't know. I'm glad that people are getting something out of it. At least it seems like it. But the other cool part is the last episode that we had last week, and I think we posted that up on Saturday, right? So it's been, that
sounds right.
Yeah, like 7 days so far, and we've had 37 plays just on that brand new episode. And here's the interesting part, which I thought was kind of fun. And Mike and I were talking about this earlier. So our website itself, we're not really getting a huge number of additional visits to the website, but we're getting more plays on the podcast, which tells me that either people are just going to, whatever player you want to listen to, whether it be Spotify, which seems to be the most common. Again, we're available Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, pretty much any of the normal places that you can think of, or you can listen through the website. But however, if you want to hop on the website, we're trying to do new things there. We are continuing to talk to people about posting what they're doing, on our sponsor page. I was approached by 2 different people this week. Neither one of them, actually 3, I talked to this week about possibly doing some sort of collaboration, and where we're going to put them on our sponsor page. We promote them, they promote us. That same deal goes out to anyone else, as long as it's recovery rated or recovery related. Go ahead and get a hold of me, get a hold of us. And we'll go ahead, and if you want, we'll do a quick read on the podcast. We'll put you on our sponsor page. The only thing that we ask, 2 things: it be related to recovery. That's, of course, number 1. But on top of that, too, you mention us, we'll mention you, and we're trying to build all this stuff together. So that's our whole point. But keep it in mind, there have been, like I said, 3 people I've talked to that we're going to do that for, and we're more than happy to do it. And it is free. We're not looking to charge anyone. So I want to make that really, really clear. Other thing, demographics. We still are popular with the ladies.
The ladies.
Exactly. So I'll give you the chance to tell me the percentage that we hit this week.
Did we hit that magic number?
I'm not sure what that magic number might be. But
yes, you are. You know what it is. 69.
Yep. Ladies, thank you very much. You are now officially, swear to God, I will put a screenshot of it up there on Instagram. But yes, 69% of our listeners are women. So yes, that gives us something to have fun with for the next, I don't know, forever.
Right.
But, I saw it. It was at 68% of like this. And it was this morning that it hit 69%. Now the 68, I still would have had a joke. If you heard, you know the joke about what's a 68, right?
Go ahead and tell me.
Okay. You do me and I'll owe you one. So for all you ladies, that's what you're paying for here. That type of humor.
That's right.
Right.
And remember exactly how much you're paying.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. 100% free. So, but no, seriously, thank you for everyone that is listening, and, share it. If you know other people, follow us, get them to follow us on Instagram, have them listen to the podcast, share it with people, if you think people are interested, or, if, like we said in one of the episodes, if you think it's terrible, let somebody know. People love listening to terrible things too. So
yes, they do.
All right, so I got into town last night, and we hit our meeting, got to see some friends, got our coins, also got an opportunity to announce our time, which, part of it is, we joke about this sometimes, the egotistic part of our thing. It's great. It feels good to stand up in front of people and be able to say, hey, look at me for a minute. But, the fun part, though, is that, and what we've been told is, the reason that we do that, the reason that people do that, is to show other people that it can be done. It can be done for a continuous number of years, and by whatever grace is out there. Thankfully for Mike and I, it's been 12 years in a row. Right. So we've had an opportunity to not only experience this, but once again get in front of people and show people that. Plus, it's a celebration. We look at this weekend as a true celebration, and we try to do it every year. We missed last year I was here, but the year before, right. Pandemic year, right? Which again, it was a pandemic.
It was a pandemic. There were a few other things shut down too. So I hear.
Yeah, right. That's written in the appendices of the big book. If there's a worldwide pandemic, you're given a pass on getting to a meeting on your anniversary. So yeah. But yeah, so we had an opportunity today. And Mike had texted me earlier in the week, and then we talked on, I think, Wednesday. And
yeah, well, I texted you Wednesday. We talked on Thursday.
Okay.
Yep.
So God, I lost track of days. But, I don't even know it's Saturday today. I think it is.
Is it? Sure, it still is.
Till for a couple more hours, right?
At least.
So the idea is that we usually go to Founders Day, and just to back up a little bit, if people aren't aware what it is, AA was founded in Akron, Ohio, which is just a little bit south of where we're at now, 30, 40 minutes.
Right.
And we had an opportunity that the first year both of us were taken to Founders Day. I think we've talked about that, but from the next year on and forward, with the exception again, the pandemic years, we didn't get the Founders Day. And this year, I actually have an opportunity to babysit for my grandson. So I'm not going to be able to make it. And Mike said, hey, let's head down to Akron. Number one, go to Dr. Bob's house. We took his daughter. We took his granddaughter. His girlfriend, Chris, came with us. So it was a whole afternoon. Plus got some food. But the thing of it is that we also had a chance, and we wanted to, both of us thought about it. The picture that we have right now for our podcast and on our website, the two of us kind of sitting back to back, that's on a rock outside of Dr. Bob's house.
Yep.
And that was our idea. Hey, let's recreate that picture, which we did. And by the time you guys are listening to this episode, it's already been changed. I got a couple other things I've got to update, but it's updated on our website, on Instagram, Facebook, my YouTube channel, which we don't do much there yet.
Out there on the interwebs.
It is out there. There's one or two more things I got to do, but my opinion when I saw it, what did I say when I first saw the picture and I started editing it?
I believe the words badass were uttered.
And you know what? I sat there like a 13-year-old girl, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat of Mike's car editing this picture. I'm like, this is fucking badass, man. And I'm like, look at this. He's driving it. I got it halfway up.
Yeah, I know. He's holding it in front of my face while I'm driving 80 miles an hour down the freeway.
He had his eyes forward, so that's all that matters. But yes,
I am a professional driver.
He is. I am a professional. He's like Rain Man. I'm an excellent driver.
I am.
So, but it's a cool picture. But it was great to be able to do that. But we also got a chance in a non-Founders Day type of thing. So if you go to a vacation destination off season, that's basically what this was today.
Right.
Founders Day is mid-season. Everyone's there. You're in and out really quickly. But Mike, go ahead and explain. I mean, what we were allowed to enable to experience today.
Well, yeah, normally we've only been there on Founders Day. It's a half-hour drive down the road, but I've never taken the time to go experience it on an off day. On Founders Day, it's there's a line around the block. They shuttle a group of about 15 or so, 20 people through. And they're just trying to move us through. Here's the house, here's the typewriter, here's the stuff. This is where it all started. Here's the coffee pot, very important for alcoholics. But today, there was a group of guys, probably half a dozen of them or so, standing on the corner. Clearly, they were us. And there was a couple people sitting on the porch, but that was it. So we got to go up and we went inside, and one of the docents there, said, hey, have you guys been here before? We said yes. My daughter and granddaughter hadn't. And so, he said, do you want to take the tour? You want me to show you around the place? And we said, absolutely. So it was nice. We spent probably 50 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was close to an hour we spent in Dr. Bob's today, which we've never done before. I was very unaware that the attic in the house is finished. There's a bedroom up there, and it's a whole thing. And again, on Founders Day, you don't get to go up there, but we got to go up. We got to go down into the basement. If you've ever been there, the basement is also the garage. When you're standing in line around the corner to get in on Founders Day, they usually have the garage doors open because it's usually pretty hot. And, so I've stepped into the garage a few times, but we got, the full tour. It was great. It was just great. The guy that showed us around, clearly one of us also, I learned a few things that I didn't know before.
Right.
It was really nice. My granddaughter and my daughter are both, well, hopefully my granddaughter's a normie. She's about to turn 14 next month, so we'll see. But my daughter certainly is, and she's done some stuff with Al-Anon, but because of me. But but my granddaughter is like I said, about to turn 14, but she's a really smart kid, and she likes history, so that was enough. Plus hopefully gave her a little bit more insight into what I do, this process that I've been going through for the last 12 years. So that was cool. That was very cool. Got to share it with them. Yeah, Akron, Ohio. It was great. We took some pictures. We like Bill said, we recreated the picture we took 11 years ago on the rock out front. We added it. We took a couple other pictures, and then we went to a bar. It's the truth. We did. There's this little hole in the wall bar in Akron that my girlfriend and her daughter found several years ago that have the best hamburgers in the world. And so we went in there and we got some burgers and hung out, drank some soft drinks and some iced tea and with the family, and it was great.
Yeah, and if you are on Instagram, I did post a picture of my hamburger, and every single one of them. I mean, seriously, every single one of them looked that way.
Right.
And his granddaughter said, "How in the world am I going to take a bite out of this?" And Mike's girlfriend says, "You're just going to do it."
Right. How in the world am I going to stay sober? You're just going to do it. How am I going to work this program? You're just going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought that was funny. But so here's the other thing, like Mike said, this gentleman and Dr. Bob's house, with the exception of I think Christmas and New Year's and some of the days like that. I mean, they're open, whatever it is, 363 or 2 or whatever. And like today they were open from noon until 3, and we got there like quarter after 10 after 2, and we were there till a little after 3. So yeah, it was almost an hour. But when the guy said that, and in my head I'm like, man, we can look around, and he started talking. And he kept talking. He kept talking. And in my head, I'm like, when's this motherfucker going to shut up? But here's the thing, and here's part of the problem. Mike and I were talking about this on the way back, is that's me in some cases. I was just like, man, first of all, I was hungry. This probably wasn't the best part, but that's not even the excuse. I did not want to sit here and just listen to some dude ramble about things I'd already heard about. But there goes my lack of patience, because we ended up, like Mike said, we got to see things we never saw before there. Hear things. He gave us these little tidbits of information. He had us as a captive audience.
Right.
So once again, all you had to do was wait a little bit, be patient. And then, as Mike said, when we were walking out after I said that to him, he's like, yeah, more will be revealed, which that's the whole point.
I read that somewhere once.
Yeah, I did too, once or twice or whatever it was. But yeah, we had a great time, and the weather is beautiful today too. So that was on top of that. But yeah, we got to wear our SoberNotMature t-shirts. Visit our
gratuitous
website.
plug.
Yes, it's not even we're not even trying to be subtle. They're on our website. They are for sale. I may actually set up another promo code on there, because we're not looking to profit on them. That would have expired. Oh, I'm sorry, it expires today, I think. The promo code does. But I might extend that. So right now the promo code, if you guys are listening to this tonight, if you're interested, it's SOBRMAT. So sober Matt, basically SOBRMAT. That what that did is that takes all the profit out of it for us. If you want one of the SoberNotMature t-shirts, we've posted pictures. We posted pictures ourselves as of today. One of our super fans, also posted one of the pictures. And so we got the female version up there too. She looks far better in that shirt than either one of us, but we still like them. But yeah, it was a great day. And now we came back here.
I'm going to get in trouble. Chris looks a lot better than us in it too. I got her one. So.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that before. I can't talk like that about your girlfriend. So yeah, tell her she looks
you
good,
can.
Man.
Yeah, she looks hot.
I know. Yeah, she does. She looks good. Absolutely. But yeah, so it was a great day. So we wanted to wait to record this till we got back, because of the fact that we wanted to be able to talk about it. And it was everything that we expected. Certainly expected it to be. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, even if you're not, because there's a lot of people, I'm guessing there might be some people that listen to this that are not into, whether it be 12-step program or AA or anything like that.
Right.
But if you get a chance to go down there, there's some history in there, I think, that applies to everyone, regardless of who you are and what what type of path you follow. And these guys have, obviously Bill and Bob helped a lot of people. They helped these two guys, that are talking to you right now. So it's worth the trip. If you ever make it to Founders Day, it's a nice sober gathering. So it's a lot of fun. But so here's the one thing that we learned about this, and this kind of leads into something I had written down as kind of a note to talk about. But the one thing I knew, so Dr. Bob's house went in and out of their family over the years, and went into private ownership. And one group that owned it was a motorcycle club. We knew about that. Did you know about the frat house?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So it's it's close to Akron University, which is where Founders Day is. And I didn't realize that apparently a fraternity had bought it out. So this guy said, he goes, well, clearly, after a group, an investment group got it back after
Right.
a frat house and a motorcycle club.
Right.
He said it was in slight disrepair.
Yeah, a little beat up.
A little beat up. But what made me think about it was, I was thinking, okay, so this frat house, and it reminded me this week, I was thinking about, again, anniversary week and all this sort of things. And I was thinking about the time that Mike and I spent in the sober house, or I'm sorry, the 3/4 house.
Mhm.
And we could talk for probably episode upon episode about everything that happened there.
Right.
But do you, again, stepping back. So we were in regular dorms. We started working, and then we get into what's called a 3/4 dorm in the sober living facility, which is the Keating Center, the
Right.
Rock. And then after that, usually what Marty would try to do is move some of the guys out into these 3/4 houses. The whole point was to make more room for other guys to move through,
Right.
constant flow. So I remember getting home from work one day, and everyone in our dorm, we had 6 people in our dorm.
Mhm.
Everyone had already been talked to, and
Right.
everyone already had roommates set up. And because basically at that point, 8 guys were going over.
Yeah.
And we, they already had like roommates set up. So, and again, Mike and I knew each other. We knew each other well at that point, but
Right.
not really well. We didn't have
Yeah.
like a super close relationship even
I
then.
mean, it was, we're 6 months in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, 6 months sober. So, so at this point now it's Mike and pretty much Mike and I left. There was another guy that I was probably closer to at that point, Tom,
Okay.
than
Right.
you, but Tom had already, figured he was rooming with this person. And, so I remember walking into the dorm or into our room, our 3/4 dorm at the sober living facility, and realizing what's all going on. We're all getting moved over there.
Right. You
And
got to
then-
go.
Yeah. And then they're like, wait, we're all going over there. I'm like, who's rooming with who? And I turn to Tom and he's like, nah, I'm rooming with this person. I'm like, I look over and literally Mike is the only person standing at the other side of the dorm. And
Uh-huh.
true story. And then Mike says these words to me. You remember what you said?
Yeah, I said, you'll do.
Yeah. So picture this. I don't know this guy too well. I mean, I know him, but I don't know him. But basically, I'm thinking in my head, I was just made this guy's prison bitch. Is pretty much what it came
Pretty
down
much.
to. So his exact words, swear to God, you'll do.
You'll do.
And that's when we ended up moving into the 3/4 house. So, and we lived in a room together for a year,
Yeah.
which was, interesting in and of itself. But I mean, that's when we became really good friends. I mean, we spent a lot of time together going to meetings, but clearly
Right.
living together.
Right.
But we also learned to,
No, literally sharing a bedroom in a house.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying we just were in a house together. We shared a bedroom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a real big bedroom either.
No,
But, we had things separated. It was, we worked it out, right?
we did. Absolutely.
And we were there for almost a year
Mhm.
before that was shut down and it was turned back into a women's house.
Right. We tried to stay, but they wouldn't let us.
Yeah, they said we had to go.
Yep.
So yeah, the chicks were moving in, and apparently chicks didn't dig us as much back then as they do now. From the 69%, thank you once again.
Thank you.
But anything like, and Mike, anything right off the top of your head? I can think of 1,000 stories probably that happened in there.
Mhm.
Some of the good ones, some of the not so great ones.
Right.
But anything that sticks right out in your head.
Well, the first one is we couldn't keep any spoons in the house.
That's, again, absolute fact, absolute
Yeah.
truth.
It was a little difficult. We go into the kitchen and all the spoons are gone again. But back up a little bit. It was a split level up and down. It was 2 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs. So that was the original 8 guys. We knew that wasn't going to last, and it didn't.
We hoped it would.
Oh yeah, we hoped it would. And out of those 8 guys, 5 of us are still sober.
I think so.
Yeah. And it's Michael and Uncle Frankie and you
Right.
and me. So that's 4. And,
Right.
oh hell, I think Bob Wright's still out there floating around somewhere. I just blew
Right.
his head. Bob W. He'll never hear this.
Right.
Yeah, he's still sober too. So that's at least 5. But yeah, and it was cool because we went over there. It was a new situation. We were the first guys to move in, and Marty trusted us. And slowly he started moving more guys in. There was an attic in the place, and they started refinishing that. There was clearly a basement. They started putting rooms down there. So more guys were coming in, but he still gave us the freedom because he knew that the core of us there were serious, and we weren't going to let anything too crazy happen. spoons aside. So it was truly transitional for us. We held each other accountable, but we had freedom. We were supposed to be back at 11 o'clock, and 90% of the time we were. If we weren't, it was because we were out with other drunks talking about the program. It was what it was supposed to be, which isn't always the case in those situations. Like I said, they started moving more and more guys in. It started getting more and more out of control. And, by the time he did switch it over to women, well, hell, we talked about it. I mean, we should have left probably 4 months before we did.
Right.
But we're drunks and we hate change, and we're lazy. And
so
we were comfortable.
Right.
And that's what we're all chasing all the time. So, but yeah. And talk a little bit about what happened at the end there, how much time we actually had to situate ourselves transitioning.
Yeah, and let me. I thought about one thing where you were talking, and then I'll get to that because that was interesting. But so one of the other parts in one of the trust items, or one of the items of trust that Marty gave us was, and this was again the unwritten rule when you're in the sober living facility, but then you're still under the Keating Center umbrella when you're in the 3/4 house. Right. So there's rules. I mean, clearly drinking or using, you get kicked out. But we were tasked or given the task of, if we came across that, we had a conversation, but then we had to let Marty know, and the guy had to go. So I don't even know how many times that happened, but there was a couple. Yeah, there was a couple of times when EMTs had to be called to carry out people, because they were too drunk to even get down the stairs. I remember walking in one day. I was walking in the front door, and this one of the guys who was staying there was doing some work on the outside, doing something, and I talking to him for a couple minutes, and I saw his eyes, and I knew him well enough. I'm like, dude, are you drunk or using or something? I mean, he was honest with me. He went out, had a few beers with some people, and ended up with a needle in his arm. So I told him, I said, you know what you got to do, and he's like, he goes, I know, and I said, no, I'm serious. I said, if you don't make the phone call, I will. And I said, I have to. I don't want to, but I have to. So do it, or I'm going to. And I mean, these guys, all of us were around the same, worst case, when we moved out of there, we were a year and 6 months sober. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like, it was a year and 6 months. Yeah.
Cause we were there for 11 months.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not like we had a super amount of long-term sobriety there, but I mean, we had that trust from him, but it was also that understanding we had to take care of that business, which is difficult.
Right.
But that happened on a number of different occasions. Remember the guy crawling in the window trying to get back in?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of the guys, he was trying to get back in the house. He had been using, and it was out, and I remember it was rainy, and we didn't know where he went, and we looked at one of the bedrooms. He crawled in the bedroom. He was hiding in a closet. I mean, things you see on like movies and TV shows. I mean, some of this stuff we actually lived through.
Right.
But the whole point is, through all of that, we stayed sober, right?
Yep.
So, and it wasn't easy, but we had to make that decision. It's like, we got to do this. We don't want to, as far as these other guys were concerned, but we did it because it's like, man, we're staying sober.
Right.
Things were stolen. Had a TV stolen from one of our buddies. Had his TV stolen. Things like that. It's just all the things you hear about, happened. But so the ending of that whole thing, I don't remember if it was a phone call or if Marty came and talked to us, but it doesn't even matter now. No. That part's a blur.
Right.
But basically, it's like, he's like, okay, we're turning it back over giving it back over to the women. So you guys gotta move. We're like, okay, we're thinking, in the real world, you get 60 days notice.
Sure, at least 30.
We had 3 weeks.
Closer to 2.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Maybe I was dreaming about the 3. So yeah, call it 2.5. Let's split the difference just in case. It was not a lot of time.
No.
So we're scrambling. We're moving around. We're checking out, different things. We're like, everyone.
Now, to be fair, Marty said we could move back to the Rock.
Right. We politely declined.
We did.
So, and that's like the the other part of the story too. So we're doing all these different things, and at the time, my mom lived about a half hour south, and she said, worst case scenario, you guys can hang with me, until you find a place. So we had a place to go, but it would have been more convenient for me based on where I was working.
Right.
But as it turned out, your car died.
Yes, it did.
So it would not have been convenient for Mike.
I had one of those quality vehicles that you get when you're just barely a year sober.
Right. Yeah. It ran until it didn't run, and then it killed on you on the freeway.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Which both of us were kind of joking about it at that time. You're like, man, could you imagine if this would have happened to you 2 years ago? I mean, you would have been loaded.
Right.
So, but yeah, so we had this call it 2.5 weeks to get out, and super stressful. And something we weren't prepared for, but as it turned out, it was.
It turned out we were sort of prepared for it,
right? But it was Amber, right? Amber,
Amber's landlord.
Yeah. So Mike's daughter Amber had ended up talking to the landlord, whatever it was. So we ended up getting in quickly. We ended up getting being able to rent this upper of a house, a 2-bedroom upper of a house.
Yeah.
It was
converted attic. Speaking of attics, it's a theme today.
Exactly. And honestly, it wasn't probably wasn't the ideal place that we might have been looking for, but it was pretty nice.
It was, actually, quite frankly, perfect for us.
Yeah.
It was 2 huge bedrooms, a little tiny kitchen, a little tiny living room, and a little tiny bathroom, but 2 huge bedrooms,
right,
which is what we needed.
Right. But not necessarily what we were maybe in. Well, me.
Right.
And Mike and I were just talking about this on the way back from Akron today, that he's been with things like this. I get these big thoughts and these big ideas, and we looked at a couple of different places and things that were way overpriced. It would have been beautiful places to live in, but way out of our price range.
Right.
And he's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm like, come on, man, we can do this.
Right. We can do this. We can do that. We can do this. Yeah. You like to eat? Well, give.
Yeah. Which we couldn't do it. So the voice of reason there was Mike, and it was perfect for us, but it wasn't necessarily, we weren't seeking that right away.
No.
We got exactly what, it was great.
Yeah, we got what we needed.
Yeah. So I was there for a couple years, and then you stayed for another year after.
Not even quite that long.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, things falling in your path when you're doing the right thing. So Bill moved back to Wisconsin, and I stayed there, because why would I leave? And it was cheap, and it was, now I had extra room. But there was a problem with the plumbing, and apparently it turned out that the house wasn't zoned for 3 residents. Well, you remember when we first moved in, we didn't have electricity for the first almost month,
right?
Because they couldn't get it turned on. We were running an extension cord from a light socket down in the hallway on the 2nd floor.
Yeah, and the motherfucker down below kept unplugging it.
And kept turning the light off.
Yeah, turning the light off. That's
right. But anyway, so it turned out it wasn't zoned, and they didn't want to put any more money into it because, So anyway, the landlord came to me and he said, well, look, we don't want to put any more money into this unit, but we've got a little house a couple of miles away. I'll charge you 50 more bucks a month to have it. It was a little house, but it was perfect for me. And I ended up living there for 6 years, which I was thinking about this the other day. It's actually, I have never lived anywhere in my life longer than I lived in that little house. Seriously, because I talked about, if you listen to past episodes, my mom moved around a lot. And then I continued that tradition through my adult life. I never, ever in my life lived one place for 6 years. But I was sober and I was stable, and I lived in this place for 6 years, and I didn't move out until I bought a house, which we're sitting in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually now, and you're going to hear, if you guys heard at the beginning of the episode, if you're any type of technical things, we were fighting with this to start out with. So what we're doing right now, we're actually, we're sitting in front, literally sitting next to each other, talking into Mike's mic.
Right.
Headphones are down, so we're hoping that this is actually recording well, quite honestly, but it seems like it is. But yeah, it kind of feels like we're in the studio right now,
right.
which is kind of funny. But yeah, so when I think it was when it had to be, I'm trying to think years. By the time when we were 7 years sober, at that point, I remember telling Mike, certainly it was by 8 years, but I think it was 7 thinking back. At that point, 7 years sober for me was the longest that I had committed to anything.
Right.
Now, I never owned a car for 7 years,
Nope.
never lived anywhere for 7 years.
Nope.
Both of my marriages didn't last longer than 7 years.
Right.
So this is the only thing so far in my life that I'm really good at.
Yeah.
You know, but at least up to this point, or at least from a long-term standpoint, you know, where I can, I had a job for 9 years, but I beat that now too. So,
Right.
you know, just kind of funny when you talk about, being and never living someplace for that amount of time.
Right.
You know, it's like, why? And the same thing with cars, I get impatient. So it's every 3 years or so. I mean, I want a new vehicle, but yeah, the 3/4 house, man, well, there'll probably be other stories that'll come up, but I honestly, it was a good experience. I remember how just when we were all moving over there, that first night that we all moved in, it was a late night for me at work, so I didn't get there till later. I had to stop over at the Keating Center. I mean, our dorm's fucking empty,
Right.
and I'm just grabbing my stuff and going over there. But it was kind of like you when you first move into your first apartment, that's what it felt like.
Right.
Just a couple of guys. I mean, a bunch of guys hanging out. It was great, you know, and we all had that sense of freedom and all those things. We weren't in around 40 other guys, you know, at that point. So it was great. We had a lot of fun there, and a lot of I know for a fact, I mean, a good part of the base that Mike and I have right now happened during that time that we were in that, you know, in that house. And a lot of it happened to be, you know, that's when our relationship grew, just between he and I, and the trust that we have for each other, you know, and all those sort of things. So it was a great time, but, you know, we're certainly glad to get out of it. That's for sure. Now,
Yes.
So here's the other thing. The two more things popped into my head this week, and Mike, you and I have talked about one of them before, but the other one, I don't even know why. Oh, I know what it was. I was listening to the podcast that I listened to on the way home from work one night, and they were talking about this chick that they were interviewing. She was a blackout drinker, which, I mean, so was I. Well, a lot of people, you know, I think were, but I was, and I don't know why the thought came into my head, but I'm like, God, do I remember? Which is kind of a weird way to put this. Do I remember the first time I blacked out? Which, I mean, you know, a blackout is you don't remember, but I do remember the incident. Do you remember like waking up or coming to after your first blackout and what happened? Or maybe even a significant one.
I mean, you know, I started doing that shit in high school. So, and again, you know, as often and whenever I was availed to the chance to do it. So, you know, no, not really. Not really. I mean, yeah, there were times, again, I was probably 15, 16 years old in there, you know, waking up at home, not knowing how I got there and not caring.
Right.
I made it home. Fuck it.
Right.
So, let's do it again.
So I went to 1 year of college at UWM, which is University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Quite honestly, I only went because that's what I thought. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. My sister went to school. She's 2 years older than me. She went to a nice school, Ivy League type school, you know, and she had always gotten straight A's. All that stuff doesn't really matter. I applied to one school that I knew I could get into, and I
should go to a school in the Northwest.
I think, yeah, in the Northwestern. Yeah, they have like Wildcats or something like that around there. But yeah, my sister's kind of a brainiac. I hope she doesn't take that to heart, because the old joke, and she'll remember this. I used to tell her, I'm like, you're super smart, but I said, drop the two of us in the woods. I said, you're gonna die. I'm getting out. and she actually agreed to me, which kind of floored me.
Right, proves she's smart.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to 1 year of college, and two things. We moved in, of course, Labor Day weekend, which is a lot of times when the kids move in, and our parents helped us. And it was me, and I roomed with a guy from high school. Another guy from high school was in our suite. A handful of other guys who we were really close friends with went to school. And so we moved in on a Saturday, and we didn't have school on Monday because of the holiday, because of Labor Day. Start classes on Tuesday. And this is funny because there's two things that I remember. First of all, as a group, and we didn't have drinking problems at this point, but as a group, we're like, yeah, we're going to just lay back this weekend. We're not going to drink. We drank Saturday night. We drank Sunday night. And I'm not shitting you. I don't think our parents were out of eyesight before we were walking to the liquor store, you know, and we.
I was going to say looking at their tailpipe through the bottom of a beer bottle, but all right.
It was close. We did have to go buy beer, but so there was also a bar on campus, and every one of us had fake IDs. We were all underage at the time, but there was a couple of places we knew we could get into, and this place right across from campus, pretty easy to get into. All the college kids were there, all full of college kids. And they used to have like drink specials certain nights, and this was I'm pretty sure it was a Wednesday, and the only reason I remember that is it was like this middle of the week, and we probably shouldn't have been going out on a Wednesday anyhow, but we did. But so Thursday night was always the big night there because it's more of a commuter school, but sometimes people went out on Wednesdays.
Right.
This was a Wednesday. So me and my roommate, we went down to the liquor store, and we each got a 6-pack of Moosehead, which is obviously a stronger beer to begin with. And back in those days, and Mike and I, I'm 53, he's 55, there was no such thing as pre-gaming. Nobody called it pre-gaming.
Nah.
We just drank before we went out because we drank before we went out.
Right.
So that's what we did, and there was no such thing as a term day drinking. If you were drinking, you were drinking. It had nothing to do with.
Right. What time is it? Who cares?
Right. We're like, oh, let's go day drinking. No, we're just like
5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, let's go drink. So we each drank all six of the Mooseheads. And at that point, I'm thin now, but I was even thinner then. So my buddy was, almost like a clone of me, body size. So we each drank 6 of those. And the special at the bar that night, it was kind of like a Long Island iced tea, but a mix of 6 or 7 types of alcohol. Called them CMFs, which was a California motherfucker.
Nice.
And basically what that again, it was like 6 different or 7 different types of alcohol. And honestly, if you went there and you didn't drink anything before, and I mean anything, a couple of them will get you buzzed up.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we drank 6 Mooseheads, and we each drank 3 of those that night. Now, I remember a couple of things. I remember joking around with him about something, and I took his seat or something like that, and he's like, "You don't take get out of my seat." I'm like, "I'm not going to get out of your seat." And he's like, "If you don't get out of my seat, I'm going to spit part of my drink on you." And I didn't, so he did. I had a white T-shirt on and like stonewashed jeans. It was the 80s, folks.
Classy.
Yep. I even got some in my mullet because I did have a mullet at the time. So that's like one of the last things I remember. So clearly a blackout. But from there, I don't know how many blocks, but it was a walk back to the dorm.
Right.
So I woke up in the morning. I was still in my T-shirt, my jeans, but in my tie, I was in my
your mullet.
In my mullet. My mullet was still on. And I woke up and I got out of bed, and I'm covered head to toe with this red speckles from everything. And again, white T-shirt and stonewashed jeans, looking sharp, but now all covered with that. But I don't know how I got back to my dorm. I don't. And that's the first time that I remember. I don't know if that's the first time it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the last by any stretch, but that's the first time that I remembered. And the reason and again, in thinking about that, I'm like, at the time, I never would have thought that would have been, and I didn't think that was problematic. It just is what it is.
Right.
It's college. Everyone was doing it, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I don't second guess anything. I can't look back and like, ooh, I wish I would have figured it out then.
Yeah.
But was that a step in that direction? Who knows? And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing or that's what you did, that you're going to be. But it just kind of blew my mind because it's, I drank like that at 17 years old.
Right.
And I continued doing it. I never thought twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? I'm in Milwaukee. I don't know where I walked from.
Right. Yeah.
That's the other thing too. It's not a dangerous neighborhood, but it's, anything could happen. So
Yeah.
it was weird. It was one of those things that I don't know. I can't remember any other ones specific, but that's the one that really stuck out. And the other thing that came to mind was how hard we worked at drinking, because that's the other thing that came up on one of the podcasts. But you and I had talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I was back when I first moved back to Wisconsin. I came out. I was in Madison, but I went out to the Milwaukee area. I was out there at one of our offices, the company I work for. So they put me up at a hotel there, and my son had football practice. And I remember went to work, had to go back to the hotel, drive up to his practice. We went to dinner, and I drove back to the hotel. Mm-hmm. So in that time frame, that drive from the hotel to where he was in Germantown, where he was for his practice, and then going to get dinner and coming back. And that had been like the first time I'd been around that Milwaukee area in a while, that path. And I remember texting Mike later on that night, and I said, "You won't believe this." I said, in that 20-minute drive there and then 20-minute drive back, I said, I counted like I don't know, it was like 7, 10, 9 liquor stores.
Mhm.
Two things. I noticed every one of them, and there were all stores that I used to go to along this path. I knew where liquor stores were everywhere,
Right.
but I remember texting him, and I'm like, man, I ran across, and I noticed number one, but I ran across like 9 or 10 liquor stores, and I'm like, I just can't believe all these places I used to go. Do you remember what you said to me?
I don't.
You said he texted back, and this is Mike. Michael just texts back a few words, and then he's done.
Yeah.
But he said, "Enjoy the freedom."
Right.
And there's little things like this, and I say this all the time, that he's had an extreme influence on me in a lot of ways, and a lot of times it's been I complicate things far more than he does, and I know I do. But a lot of times he has that ability, which I appreciate, to see through and just the basics. And I didn't think of it that way. I was just like, this is crazy. Why do I notice all these liquor stores? And he's just like, enjoy the freedom. I'm like,
Right.
damn right.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Got to drive past them.
right. Yeah. And I didn't have to worry about did I stop at that one yesterday?
Right.
Versus the other one.
Exactly.
So did you have, and I know in your story, we know what your end, was.
Right.
But let's say in the middle part of your
rotating stores to
well, what was your how hard did you work to stay drunk?
Oh yeah, that very. Oh yeah, sure, of course. I can't go to that store. I went to that store yesterday. I got to go to this store. Yeah, that's pretty common. I mean, I talk about when I do groups and stuff, I tell the guys, because most of the guys when I go do group, most of them are drug addicts, and I certainly was too. And I say, hey man, the last 5, 6, 7 years I was out there, unless drugs were handed to me on a silver platter, I didn't do them, because being a drug addict is way harder than walking to the corner and getting what I needed cheap and legally. I mean, I was a heroin addict for a solid year at one point in my life. I chipped before and after, but hardcore on the streets doing it, and that is hard work. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. This thing that we have to do to stay sober today is far easier than that other life. It is. And the drinking and all of it. This is the easier, softer way. I'll always say that. I've got to spend, total really an hour and a half. That's a busy day working on my recovery. When I was out there, I spent, 16 hours, 17 hours, man. I work long days. I work 13-hour days, sometimes 14-hour days. And that's still not as much as I was spending trying to stay high, trying to stay drunk, man. This is easier. I'll take the hour and a half on a busy day for recovery. Sometimes total is a half hour, between meditations and prayers and just, being conscious of being a good boy and doing the next right thing. Because I do have to think about that.
Yeah, so you're going to tell about what today is?
Yeah, today it hit me. Yeah. So we're in Dr. Bob's house, right? And there's lots of cool stuff in there. The house that we're sitting in right now is 103 years old. I like old stuff. I do. And we're walking down the basement, and Bill and I were the girls, the guide and the girls were before us walking down into the basement. And we're walking past these pegs, and there's old timey hats, and there's this really cool fedora hanging there. And I reached for it, and I looked at Bill, and I just went, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I do. That's where my brain goes. That's a cool hat. I want it. That should be mine. Of course, I left it because I'm a thief that doesn't steal anymore. But
yeah, that's his thought. At 12 years and 1 day sober, he almost stole Dr. Bob's fedora.
Yeah, goddamn right.
which is great.
That's cool. I like it. I want it. I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. So we both just looked at each other when we were talking about that. But yeah. So in the same thing, like you said, an hour and a half a day is a busy day. So I get up specifically early so I can do the same thing, my reading and my prayers. And probably from the time I get up to the time I probably spend a half hour in the morning doing that.
Right.
Probably maybe 5 or 10 minutes at night just doing my prayers before I go to bed.
Well,
and again, sometimes depending on how messed up my day is, if I got stuff to really settle in my head so I can
process.
Right, process. But then I listen to a podcast on the way home. So
Mhm.
I can count that as 30 minutes, but
Sure.
I'm not going out of my way. I'm in my car. I have to drive home anyhow.
Right.
And I just happen to play that rather than, I don't know, Stinkfist by Tool, and I like that song. I would be more than happy to put that on repeat.
What about our
30 minutes.
Christmas song?
Christmas song?
Cake and Sodomy by Marilyn Manson.
Cake and Sodomy. Another story. We would have to get our normie cousin. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, I was going to read the lyrics to that for the prayer at Christmas dinner one year when he was a youngster and wasn't supposed to have the CD. And then we did read it off for one Christmas.
We did.
Yeah, when Mike was here 6 years
You know
ago.
what? I think it got uploaded to Facebook or something. I think
It might be.
Yeah,
There might be video of it out there.
it's out there somewhere.
If there is, we'll have to look for it. But so to his point about different liquor stores, and that's what made me think about that.
Mhm.
I did the same thing. So where I lived in Menominee Falls, there was a couple of grocery stores, a couple of liquor stores, and then one to the south of town. But there was 5 different liquor stores that I used to go to, and I had the delusion, probably.
Yeah, that's it.
The delusion of thinking,
Not probably.
yeah, that these people didn't know, because at the end, especially for, I don't know how much time it was, but for a while, I'm buying a 30-pack of beer every 2 days plus a monstrous bottle of whiskey
Mhm.
every 2 days. So every 6 days or every 7 days, I'm at the same store, or even every 8 days. It doesn't matter. I'm buying the same thing. So I think that they didn't know me. Now I go to the same place to get my haircut every week. I
Mhm.
walk in, they know my name.
Right.
Now I've been going there for a while, but they know my name. The place I pick up my pizza, it's a chain restaurant, but after about 3 weeks of doing it, they had my pizza ready for it. Hey, Bill, good enough. I'll have it ready in a minute.
Mhm.
And so I had one of the stores I used to go to, one of the stores to buy liquor from, but I also went to that grocery store.
Right.
I walked in there for one company I was working with. So it was a business situation. I ended up talking to one of the managers. They're like, you used to live around here, didn't you? You used to live here all the time. I hadn't seen that dude, I swear to God, in 7 years.
Right.
And he remembered me.
Mhm.
So the thing of it is the amount of work that we go through, trying to, do I have to buy beer in the morning because I'm got to work late? And what is this? Am I going to have this?
Mhm.
And I was never one of those people that woke up and didn't have booze in the house. That never happened. I never ran out of coffee, and I never used to run out of liquor or booze. Never.
Right.
But yeah, to Mike's point, this is the easier, softer way.
Mhm.
The work that any of us, and they talk about this in meetings, they talk about it, any type of recovery you're in. I would hope at some point that they would talk about that, because it's hugely important. If we realize, everyone always says, put as much work in, to your recovery as you did to drinking. And now that we have lives, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it would be hard.
Right.
It'd be hard for me to do all those things I did. It was hard as it was.
I wouldn't want to.
Right. I wouldn't want to either. Right.
I'm not burning that many calories on anything anymore. I spread it out, man. I want to have a full life. I want to spend time with my kid and my grandkid. I want to spend time with my girlfriend. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to work and make money. I want to lay on my couch and watch my cable TV. I want to spread it out, man. I don't want to be that focused on any one thing anymore. That's the obsession. And I don't want to be obsessed with anything anymore. I don't, including recovery.
Right.
It's a part of my life. It's a part of everything that I do every day, but I'm not obsessed with anything anymore. And that's the freedom. Enjoy your freedom.
And you know what? Our sponsor, and we mentioned this before, but we had the same guy that sponsored us for a little while. And he used to tell us, because I remember there was something I wanted to go do, and I was going to miss a meeting or whatever it was. And I was talking to him about it. And I remember him saying to me, he goes, we don't get sober to spend 100% of our lives, thinking and doing recovery. He said, we get sober to do these things, to spend time with our family, with our girlfriends, with our grandkids, with our children, whatever it is.
Right.
So that's important. And it's okay. I mean, if you got a foundation in there, if everything's, okay, if you're spiritually fit, right? If you're doing the right shit every day, it's okay. For it's important.
It is to have a life.
Hugely important.
It reminds me of Phyllis, who was one of the founders of the Keating Center. Some guy, we've been sitting in groups all day and doing the thing and getting it rammed down our throats because we needed it, being brainwashed because our brains needed to be washed. And, I remember some guy would be like, okay, well, now I'm going back. I'm taking the big book and going back to my bunk and reading the big book. And she would say, no, don't you dare do that. You go back there and you read a regular book. You go back there and listen to the radio. You go back there and just relax. Decompress a little bit, because it isn't, we can't constantly do anything. That's what I've learned through this program. Doing one thing all of the time is going to fuck you up, whether it's booze or dope or sex or work or anything. Eating. Wait,
sex?
Yeah, sex too.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was like
the one exception.
Right.
No, we got to do some other stuff too. Yeah. Not to put it down, it's got its place.
Right. It certainly does. Okay, so one other thing that I heard this week that I wanted to, and it was a quote that I heard, and I wanted to get your opinion on it.
All right.
A drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts. So again, a drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts.
I don't know what the hell that means.
And you know what? That's why I read it twice. Because honestly, when I read it like 3-4 times. And I think what it means and what it's trying to say is that what we said when we were drunk, obviously inhibitions being loosened up and everything like that, was what we really felt. It just happened to come out because all of our inhibitions were down. So if you hate somebody, your hate words are going to come out when you're drunk,
right?
Or if you are lying about something, it's going to come out. Yeah, so things that you had in your head, and it made me think about that. So I want to get your opinion. I mean, I have thoughts on it, but
right. I mean, I can sort of see it, looking at that fedora, that was my thought.
If you were drunk,
if I was drunk, I'd have taken that son of a bitch. Oh, hell yeah, I'd be wearing it right now. So yeah, I mean, I guess, but it's a stretch, no, my drunk words are not my thoughts today. I like to hurt people with my tongue. I did when I was drunk. It made me feel better. And that is absolutely not part of my life today.
Right.
The last thing I want to do is hurt anybody. And if I do, it makes me feel like shit. So, no.
Well, and the cool part is, well, two things. The non-cool part is it made me think of a couple of times when I was drunk that I said things, whether it be my ex-wife or a family member or something like that after the fact. This is a true story. I used to, when my ex and I, my son's mom and I were married, we'd get in these fights when both of us were drinking, and we both would get bigger mouths on us.
Sure.
I mean, I had a problem with it. She's a normie.
Right.
I'm not. But there were certain times when we were getting fights, and I worked at home at that time. I worked remotely, so I had a desk area downstairs. On numerous occasions, we'd get in a fight, and I thought she was wrong. And I swear to God, I would run downstairs and I'd make a note of what we fought about. I'd make a note of why I was right, because I knew I wouldn't remember it. I don't know if I clearly I never told you that.
No, and clearly I believe you.
Right. But yeah. So, but the other thing too is I know that there was shit that came out of my mouth when I was drunk that I never would have said sober, even if I felt it.
Right.
But like today, and I think about, when people get put under for any type of surgery, they get the relaxant, whatever, and if that happened to me now, I'm not afraid of what I might say.
Yeah.
which was the other thing I thought about, which was kind of fun. But last thing that I thought about, and when I was at Mom's last weekend, we were talking about some different things, and I was telling her how how you close out the show and stuff like that. And she's like, because obviously you're saying
fuck you.
Right. But so she's like, I don't like that. And I'm like, you don't like what? The swearing? She's like, everyone uses the word fuck these days. And I'm like, and I said, well, you're probably not going to like what we talk about, because I said we do swear a lot. So Mom, we're fucking sorry.
Yeah. Fucking A, Mom.
Yeah, fucking A, Mom, we're sorry. There's a reason that it's the explicit button is marked on every single episode. So I believe, though, I had some other things written down. One of the things we want to talk about, and it was brought up today at Dr. Bob's house, but we don't have time to talk about it today, is the 4 absolutes. Maybe next episode we could dive into it, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Especially for people who are, even if you're newly sober, or I would say even specifically, if you're not part of a 12-step program, it's a good base, for people to live by. So if you want, hell, do a little homework. Look up the 4 absolutes.
Google that shit.
It is on Google because I looked it up plenty of times to print off for people.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully I think we covered everything, and we're hoping everything on here sounds okay. We'll listen to it after we're done. But wingman.
All right, kids. Thanks for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Stay sober this week. Be nice to the people around you. Come back next week. And for now, fuck off.
All right, man. As always, it's been a lot of fun. I love you, brother.
Love you too. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.